I'm sorry. So sorry. Don't you remember you told me you love me, baby? Ta-da! Well, folks, seems like old RGT has ruffled some feathers once again. He's got some people mad at him, and I kind of just want to talk about it. It's Sunday. There's not much going on. I thought this would be a fun little video to maybe explain myself a little bit more, because obviously this past week in video games was a bit of a tumultuous week. You know, there was lots of stuff that was allegedly happening, and then these things didn't happen, and you know, some of them were on a bigger scale than other things. We went from Xbox essentially shutting down to just being fine and putting a couple smaller and evergreen and games as a service titles onto other platforms. And obviously that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, just because of how it played out, and then the reaction from people who were perpetuating some of these things about how it was going to play out. And then when it didn't play out in that manner that they were saying, they didn't say, oh, you know what? Yeah, we screwed up. This, that, or the other. They kind of doubled down on it. And I made a video a couple days ago talking about it. And I figured it would annoy some people, not necessarily viewers and stuff like that, but probably industry people. And lo and behold, folks, that my theory was confirmed last night. Last night on the Spawncast, we had Randall Thor on the show, who is a fellow Xbox creator. Obviously, you know, he's a little bit more known in the Xbox community than I am. And he flat out said during the show that I pissed a lot of people off with my video, to which I said, good, F 'em. Like, I don't understand why anyone would really be mad about what I said. All I said was that people perpetuated this myth of what Xbox was going to do, to the point of where TikTokers and you know, people who don't pay attention that much to the video game industry, there were literally TikToks with 5-6 million views about Halo coming to PlayStation and Xbox shutting down and stuff, perpetuated by this incorrect information. And the only thing I was upset about wasn't the fact that the information was wrong. People have been wrong all the time. I'm going to give you a list of things that I was wrong about in just a minute, but there was no accountability for it. There was no sort of like, oh, you know, I guess our sources weren't all that great on this. Maybe, you know, maybe this isn't happening now, but 5 to 10 years or something like that. No, it was just like, oh, it's probably still happening, or they pivoted because Twitter was upset. Twitter, you know, remember Twitter, the place that said, hey, you need to boycott Hogwarts Legacy, and then Hogwarts Legacy was the best-selling game of 2023. Twitter, that imaginary place where people feel their opinion is the most important thing in the world, and that they're the center of the universe and everything revolves around them. We've seen these Twitter boycotts. We've seen it with Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, all of this sort of stuff. You know, I get it. Companies don't want to see bad publicity, but all publicity is good publicity. And let's be real. Last week, more people were talking about Xbox than probably they have in a very long time. I was talking about Xbox at an alarming rate. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of this information that was perpetuated by these so-called industry insiders who have these connections was just blatantly wrong for at the very least, the time period we were in. And none of them took accountability for it. None of them said, hey, you know what? We screwed up. You know, sorry about that. Here are some things just off the top of my head that I have been wrong about. And then I will say, hey, you know what? I was wrong. My bad. Grand Theft Auto 5 probably coming to Nintendo Switch. I was one of the believers in that. Wrong. Fallout coming to the Nintendo Switch. I was one of the believers of that. Wrong. The Nintendo Switch Pro ended up being a Nintendo Switch OLED. Was I right about it? No, I was wrong. Shenmue 1 and 2 HD collection coming to Nintendo Switch. Wrong. Like, it's not a big deal. I don't feel like that damages my credibility as a content creator, or as someone who, gives opinions on stuff and sometimes has some insight, more so than the average person. And sometimes it's just opinion based. Like, I don't feel like it's necessarily a bad thing to be wrong. It just humanizes you. Like, yes, there are some leakers out there whose track records are better than others. And it's usually kind of with smaller stuff. Usually it's not something massive like the degradation of an entire company. I'm sure Xbox Era is mad at me. Okay, I'm pretty sure I called them out by name. Xbox Era, if you are mad at me, please remember one thing. You fine folks over there gave Redfall an 8.5 out of 10. Redfall, a game that I played to completion with Spawnwave, MBG, and Nate the Hate over the course of like 2 or 3 nights. That's on its best day with the sun shining on it. At least the version that we played was a 5. And everyone said it was, not a great game. And obviously, the internet reaction to the game sort of exemplified that. But you were probably wrong about that review. I've been wrong about games and talking about games and stuff like that. It's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. Not everyone is going to agree with everything you say. The problem that I have with this entire thing is that when you're wrong, or when you go against the grain or whatever, you have to realize that people are going to look at you kind of through a different lens. And when you go against the grain, or when you're just inherently wrong about something, it's okay for people to criticize. It's okay for people to disagree with you. Like, if somebody told me that Crash Team Racing is the greatest kart racer of all time, or Dead by Daylight is the greatest survival game of all time, 2 games that I played, reviewed, put on the channel, and got crucified for, like, I'm not going to get mad about that. I just didn't like the game. But if you do, like, okay, that's fine. That's your opinion. That's not something that's going to make me mad because you're questioning me or doubting me. I don't have this ego where, you have to like me. You have to believe me. You have to this, that, or the other. It's just opinions at the end of the day. And I'm willing to realize that these are just opinions. But when you create this sort of complex for yourself, and I'm not just saying Xbox here, I'm saying a lot of these, gaming journalists have a holier than thou sort of vibe to them. And then when you're wrong about something, inherently wrong, very, very wrong, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be people that don't, within these console wars, that don't believe what Phil Spencer said. They don't believe what Xbox said. They still think that Starfield in a couple years is probably going to come to PlayStation 5. Okay, you know what? Maybe that's correct. But maybe that's a bridge that we have to cross when we actually get to it. Because for at least 2024, at the very bare minimum, for at least 2024, this is the way things are going to be. There probably will be some other titles that come, smaller titles as well, that end up going to other platforms. Do I think these 4 are the only 4? No, because I heard it was 6 titles to begin with. So, there's 2 titles missing from that when Xbox said it. But to just bring everything back full circle, if that video made you mad, I don't care. Like, I do not care. It's okay to not like what I had to say, because I feel like if it made you mad, then it was probably directed to you and you took it to heart. But at the end of the day, bro, it's video. This is video games. We are on this platform, whatever the platform may be, talking about video games. Essentially what was a child's medium for many, many years until the mainstream started to accept it. We grew up with video games. We helped popularize video games. It's okay. This isn't anything, life or death, people. Just take the ego down a couple notches, come back to reality. If I made you mad, kiss my ass. Like, I don't care. It's just ridiculous to me how angry, sometimes we get about video games, and I'm guilty of it too. Like I said, I'm not a perfect person, but I feel like I have at least a little bit of awareness with some of this stuff. Anyways, guys, I know this video was all over the place and rambling. Like I said, it's Sunday. I didn't really have much to talk about today, but that kind of stuck out in my mind when Randall Thor was like, "Oh, you pissed a lot of people off," and I was like, "Yeah, I probably did." But what are you gonna do? Let's always remember this is all video games, folks. Let me know what you think of this. Let me know if I made you mad in the comment section down below. If I did, hey, you know what? Hey, we're not always going to agree, but we're always going to agree that RGT is the place to be. Something like that. I don't know where the hell I was going with that. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Later.